This is the Freeheel Life podcast, episode number 123. I'm your host, Josh Madsen, coming at you from the Freeheel Life shop in Salt Lake City, Utah. And we did it. Brothers and sisters of the turn, 7 years are done at Freeheel Life. So thank you for an amazing, amazing season. As always, we could not grow without you, obviously. And I hope we were able to take care of your Telemark needs this season. So that's kind of it. We had an awesome team this year. Everybody helped out. Seasonal folks are moving on to their summer gigs, and the rest of the crew is taking a little hiatus, a staff spring break, if you will, just to refresh the brain before we start hopping into summer projects and getting ready for next season. So that's kind of how it rolls around here. I believe a small group is heading up to Sun Valley for the Sun Valley Festival coming up, Hawaiian Nationals, one of the longest running events in the country in the United States of America. So if you're in Idaho, Sun Valley, Hawaiian Nationals coming up this weekend. Great group of folks up there, and definitely hope to see some pictures. But yep, brick and mortar is closed for the season. If you need anything, hit us up, customer service at freeheellife.com. Like I said, no one will be answering any emails, phone calls, or whatnot this week as we are out skiing and catching up on some turns before it's all said and done for the season. So that's pretty much it. Today, to kind of wrap things up, I've got Miles Shaffer, Freeheel Life shop manager, and I've got our general manager, Taylor Johnson, Telly Tay, as you know him. And we're going to chop it up a little bit about how the season went and what they saw in the shop, and just kind of shoot the breeze to end this fine season up. I hope you're having a great Monday wherever you may be in the world. And let's hop right into it. Thanks for listening. All right, welcome to the Freeheel Life podcast, you guys.
What up?
Welcome.
What up? What up?
Well,
here we are.
April. Another winter at Freeheel Life, come and gone.
7 years in the bag.
I think this one went even faster than the last 6.
Is that the fresh pot in the background?
That's the fresh pot, yeah.
Fresh pot of coffee.
It's very important. Early in the morning, we gotta get going.
Happy Monday morning, everybody. Hopefully you can hear the gurgling fresh pot of coffee in the background. A staple of Freeheel Life. This is why we are still here after 7 years, is massive pots of caffeine. All right. So this is sort of a postseason, hoedown. See how things went. Year 7. We just closed up on Saturday, and we're done. So
Yeah.
how was it? I guess how was the winter? How was the winter in general? Let's get the overview of snowpack, and how are you guys feeling about the winter? I'm curious about your thoughts on this, because I was talking to somebody about snowfall yesterday, and I always get mixed signals.
I don't know. Even though I am from Utah, I don't feel like I'm that much of a snow snob. I don't even know what the totals were. Probably 300 some inches, which is like a lot of snow, but 200 inches below average for Alta. December, there's a bunch of storms early season, like October. I was not skiing in October. November kind of dried up a little bit. December turned on. January, February, like 2 snowflakes maybe in 6 weeks. Did a couple tunes in the January to February region when the snow did start to firm up a little bit. But I don't know, even when it wasn't snowing, the snow honestly stayed pretty good. Like, it was cold, and
Yeah.
chalky. We just didn't ski a lot of days on powder skis.
Yeah.
Yeah, we had a couple fun days in that little drought in that January, February. Went up and had surprisingly good runs, but a lot of demos that month or two. A lot of people come in, I'm bored, want to try Telly. So.
Yeah, Miles, do you even notice, because that's what I kind of wanted to get at is, do you, as a shop manager, do you actually notice if it's a good or bad snow year?
I think so. Maybe a little bit. I think just different. Not necessarily good or bad. Just different skis and a little bit different people.
Yeah.
It's like people, we didn't really send out our powder ski demos.
Yeah, that's true.
But other than that, no, not really. I think maybe a little bit, but I mean, people would come in, whether they're bored or maybe they're just wanting to try something different. But I think still a lot of people were coming in and new faces a lot. So
yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, Miles, it was your first winter as shop manager, so
true.
You don't have a lot of data to compare, but as like a veteran shop manager,
I guess that's true.
No, that's totally true though. Like a good winter is obviously good. We get to do a lot of good skiing, ski a lot of fresh snow, and existing Telemark skiers like to come in and upgrade on a good winter, but the bad winters, so to speak, are sneakily good for us as well, because it's just like what you said, people get bored, they want to try it. So
I guess that kind of makes me think, like, what were the hot items this year? I mean, you said you didn't sell a lot of or rent out a bunch of powder skis. What did you see people taking out, in terms of I guess rental demo kind of stuff? Like what were people vibing on?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, a lot of people are trying to get a better idea or better understanding of the NTN platform this year, especially with some of the news that came out with the boots. There were a lot of people kind of, okay, I guess it's time. And a lot of people were trying that NTN for the first time, but for the most part, maybe just people trying different skis, different boots, things like that. The protectors were fun. We had people always wanting to get out on those, which was pretty cool. But yeah, just people trying it, people looking at different options, different gear. Maybe they've been on an Outlaw forever. They wanted to try that Majo or vice versa. So, but yeah, it was cool.
What did you think with that whole thing on 75 millimeter and NTN stuff? I mean, what are you hearing from people in terms of reactions, I guess? I don't know, because there was kind of that whole kerfluffle. I don't know. When those articles, when we put those articles out on Telemark Skier, and then all of a sudden it seemed like there was like this backlash, like, but I mean, are you really seeing that like on the ground, like when you talk to people?
A little bit. I'd say some people aren't super stoked. I did go back and try to find some real old articles. I found one when the first plastic hybrid boot came out. There was
Fusion.
Yeah, I think that
is that the one. Oh! You're talking plastic cuff.
It was the they were talking about the first buckles on leather boots and things like that, and the reactions, at least from the couple articles I found, people weren't very stoked. People only wanted to stick with what they had, and it was kind of cool to see that, and it's kind of the same right now, but leather boots are not being made still, and it's gone the way of the plastic, so we'll see, but I don't know.
Yeah, that's kind of interesting. Like, what was the bigger drama? Leather to plastic, were you considered a cheater, or 75 to NTN?
Yeah.
I don't know.
I mean, you were like a kid just learning on leather boots, but
it's the same problem, just different era though too, because the whole thing with leather to plastic was the feel. The whole problem with 75 to NTN is the feel. But it's funny because it's like that whole podcast we did about the death of 75 millimeter. It's like there's just all these opportunities for the feel to be the gaps to be filled in, but I don't think anybody's filling them in, yet. Yeah,
that was kind of my point. It was trying to be as optimistic as possible, but there is opportunity for, a new old feel, I guess.
Yeah, I was talking to Keith Opperman in the Midwest yesterday, and we talked briefly about binding options because he wants, and I know you know this. I was going to tell you this anyways. He wants Majos out there, which I think in the beginning, I remember when we first talked about for the rental fleet putting Majos out there. I mean, when you think of it as a tech tow binding and touring, you might think, oh, okay, like, do you need tech tow to like tour? I'm speaking for myself. Sorry, Midwest folks. You're probably like, this guy's a jerk. Of course we want tech tow. But I think the big thing he was talking about is the feel of it and how many people like didn't like links that he was demoing to because they were too, quote unquote stiff. So, I mean, they're probably too active. And then he brought you, Miles, up about stiff springs on Outlaws. I don't know if this is true. Did you bring, and tight trees?
Yeah.
And, just, I don't think there's enough options for certain conditions. And
I think too,
areas.
it's looking at what a lot of people out there currently on is like, you're going from a 2-buckle T2, and some people are still skiing Rivas and Targa, whatever it may have been, and you go to a 4-buckle TX Pro and a Outlaw or a Lynx, it's a way big jump, way different. So, but
yeah, jumping like 20 years or more in technology is tough.
Yeah. But
yeah,
I don't know. I think that's interesting. Yeah, Keith has bugged me about that. Not bugged me, but he's asked me for Mejo demos up there because I think the Mejo definitely has a more cable-like feel. Obviously, you have the lateral control of NTN and tech pins, and there's that binding is quote more complicated. I mean, there's a lot of bells and whistles on it, but as far as like where the pivot position is, and I think something about the tech toes, it's almost like, on a 75, you're kind of like leveraging against the duckbill, but on the tech toes, the boot almost like rolls forward in the pins. That's the feel to me of like when I ski a Mejo, it's like, feels like you engage the springs and start flexing the boot, and then the boot continues to like roll forward. There's not like, whereas like an Outlaw, you don't have a duckbill to lever against, but the like the toe of the NTN boot is stuck. There's like a plate underneath the toe that you're really flexing that boot a little more. It's a different, I don't know, it's just a different feel. I would describe Mejo as more cable-like in terms of forward flex, at least.
The flex plate on the Majors always reminded me more of the Rotofella stuff. Like it's kind of got the way that it's made with the plastic. The actual flex plate reminds me more of like a free ride plate or a freedom plate. I don't know why. I don't know what that means. But I don't know. Like I think that is the key though. Like people don't want this like super stiff. You need it to flex the boot, We talked a lot about this year. I feel like that's the big thing is the boot's got to flex. And the binding, I think, kind of needs to flex with the type of boot you have. And like we were saying, like when you go to the Midwest Miles and you're trying to ski tight trees, I think then there's those added terrain features that make it so a softer boot and a softer flex or less aggressive pivot point on a binding actually helps maneuver faster, I think, through some of that stuff.
Yeah, so. I think I was talking with our friend Elliot, Backcountry Banana Boy, and he was talking about kind of stiffness and activity in relation to speed. It's like not like you can't ski fast in the Midwest, but when I was there last year, it was like I took my exact setup that is my daily driver setup at Alta, and immediately it was like back to springs off, because having a very stiff spring when you're going fast I think is important. But when we were skiing tighter trees and making quicker turns rather than like high speed, high adrenaline turns, having a lighter flex, just you're able to be quicker on your feet. So it's like kind of terrain preferences and Like you're not skiing like a big open bowl where you're making, 40 mile an hour, 40 meter turns. Like you're making slower 4 meter turns around all these trees.
Yeah. I think that, yeah. I don't even remember. How did we start talking about this? Oh, the boot change. Oh, the change to 75 to NTN. Yeah. I don't know what the future holds for that. I'm kind of curious to see. I feel like even talking now, the fact that we know that we don't, at least none of us know of anything new coming out, it kind of makes me wonder. I mean, it could be like 2 or 3 years before there's anything new.
Yeah, we need to rebrand NTN, neutral telemark norm.
Ooh, that might be the future. I think there's a huge swath of people, though, that if binding manufacturers don't get on board with this, basically if they're not listening to us on the podcast. But I think there's not enough. I think there's a huge swath of people that aren't being serviced, and I think it's tricky, and it's because even the features that we're discussing for this like Midwest scenario of tight trees, they're here in the Rocky Mountains, West Coast, East Coast. They just need a binding that's less aggressive, and it could be anything. It could be the weight of the person, it could be the age of the person, just personal style,
or just terrain preferences. I mean, obviously, like wherever your local mountain is, that might be the terrain you have access to, but some mountains have everything from big wide open bowls or fast steep groomers to tight low angle powder runs. Like, you gotta make sure that when you do buy stuff, that obviously if you have the luxury of demoing gear, do it. If you don't, come ski Salt Lake and you can do a demo day.
Well, I guess that kind of makes me wonder what other trends you're maybe seeing in the shop, Miles. Anything that you're picking up on? I mean, you've got your ear to the ground. You're talking to the people.
Yeah, I think one thing kind of into both topics is I am very excited to see what comes with the softer plates and the softer springs for the links. With people kind of in the middle, maybe they are looking to switch, but they want something a little softer, a little bit lighter, whatever it may be. Very curious to see kind of how that goes into play, kind of somewhere in the
are those
in the
available
middle, or
are those available next year?
Hopefully next year was the last thing I heard from Jake at Telly Day.
Gotcha.
So,
I'm pretty sure they were on your pre-order sheet there, buddy. So pay attention to what you're buying.
Hey, well, they said they were still testing.
Well, when I asked Jake at World Telemark Day, he made it seem like we already had them, and I was like, "What? I've never even seen these."
Well,
things.
I think the Lynx small this year, it was some small measurement of the flex plate being thinner. So the small was a little bit softer than years past.
Got it.
But next year, I think on the catalog was like
2 or 3
it comes with
ones.
the plate, then there's the soft plate, then there's the extra soft plate for both large and small. So super customizable.
That's the ticket.
So we'll see. Should be fun.
And I think soft springs for small Outlaws. I don't know if they did soft springs for large Outlaws. But small bindings usually mean smaller people, means less weight and mass, like driving that. So it just kind of makes sense. Like if you're, 6'2", 195 pounds, like versus, 5 foot, 100 pounds, like you're just putting a lot less leverage on the binding, and you probably don't need as much, horsepower out of the binding.
I wonder if they'll ever go back to the pivot point swap ability on the Outlaw, because on that we've talked about that. The prototype had slick pin capability.
I want to look at that closer again, because I do remember that, but
I don't know how it would work, honestly.
Because the way the Outlaw spring assembly is now, it's all riveted off that one fixed pivot position.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see if they could change something like that, where you had kind of like a more...
Yeah, I mean, they incorporated that into the links, from hammerhead to axle vise to skip a generation with Outlaw and then pivot position adjustment on the links.
Yeah. Oh, crazy. All right. Well, so soft plates. Looking forward to that.
New merch. That'll be cool.
Yep.
Fun, exciting. But no, I think just in general, it was fun to be down there more up front, kind of see the things that Tay and you have kind of built up, and the relationships is really cool. I mean, people that come in a couple times a month, you see them pretty often, and it's cool to see them, come in all the time and remember who they talked to last time and what they need and things like that. Is just really cool to kind of meet and see the regulars and the new faces and things like that, which is pretty cool. So, but yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's fun to see. I mean, it was kind of scary taking over the lowdown this year from Tay. Big shoes to fill.
Yeah.
And I was downstairs in the shop a week or two ago, and a customer comes in. He's like, "What the heck? Where you been, man?" I was like, "What are you talking about? I've been here. I didn't go on vacation or anything." He's like, "Where's your videos? You haven't uploaded in like 3 weeks." And I was like, "Oh, crap. All right, well." So that's kind of fun.
I'm glad you got called out by a viewer of your show there, because I noticed that Miles hadn't done the lowdown in a week or two, and then you come up and, dude, someone just called me out. I'm filming a video tomorrow. I was like, there we go. So let the people do the reprimanding for you.
No, that's good. It's good that people are watching, and I mean that is kind of big shoes to fill, man. And I mean, you did a great job. But yeah. And it's kind of crazy, like, that, thanks to all the listeners out there and people that watch the YouTube channel and stuff like that, and customers, but it is kind of funny that people actually watch the thing that you do, and then they're like wondering where you're at when you don't do it.
I don't know, that's cool. Or like when someone comes in to try on a new pair of boots, it's like, I did my homework, I watched your video, this is the size I think I am, and then you measure their foot, you're like, yeah, you did it good, you're ready to go.
Thank God.
So
we should have a homework packet that you send out to people, like, oh, you're coming in for a boot fit? Cool, here's your video homework
checklist.
Make them do all the work. That's why they come here, so that we can size them up.
That is funny. I guess anything you see. Before we move on from like that kind of stuff, I'm just curious, like, are you seeing are more skis coming in or are NTN at this point? Or are you starting to see kind of a transition of certain bindings you're not seeing anymore? I always think bindings first over boots. I feel like those things fade away yearly, but I don't know.
I would say I had an interesting perspective this year, because for about a month I was now the ski tech.
And
had to mount a bunch of pair of skis, and then trained Aiden, our new tech, that he really worked out good this year, which was awesome. But he, I think, made a comment in March, and he ran up to my office and asked me for help with a hammerhead mount. He'd never mounted a hammerhead.
Oh, that's interesting.
So that was kind of, that was interesting. Of there were a lot of hammerheads out there, and definitely had a cult following, but I don't know, that at that point he'd probably mounted 200 or 300 pair of skis since.
Wow. And
hadn't mounted a hammerhead. So
it was a cable guide. He's like, how does this go in? Is it going upside down, or which way does this go?
I mean, he's smart. Like, he can look at stuff and figure it out, but it's also like he wanted a confirmation before he's drilling holes into someone's brand new skis. And
that is a trickier bind. That's an interesting one. That's kind of what I was looking for. I was curious, like, have we reached a phase of have we reached a point where something's phasing out visually, where you're just like not seeing it anymore? And hammer, I mean, that kind of makes sense. I mean, because and I think we brought this up too in the past, is when the shop opened 7 years ago, hammerhead parts were still available new at that point.
Yeah, we stocked all the parts.
Right. And it's crazy. And now you can't even buy screws or, stuff like that. And I think those are the things that are the hardest, like when we think bindings, like screw availability, obviously cables. We've talked about cables. I mean, actually that brings up something I was going to ask you, Miles, is have we gotten to the point where G3 target cables, like the public is accepting the fact that they no longer exist, or are they still like wondering?
Accepting more than they did last season.
Okay.
But not quite fully accepted it.
They're still not totally extinct though, because we do still get people dropping off a dusty old box of parts, and
Yep.
you know, there's a Targa that's got plenty of days on it, but still some functioning parts. But I think that's just a result of probably being the number one selling Telemark binding of all time. It'll just they're floating in someone's attic or something.
Someone's gonna, like an archaeologist is gonna find it, like, you know, 100 years from now, and it's gonna be buried under some mud, and they're gonna be dusting it off. Someone will be looking for it still.
Yeah, looking for that red cable, the elusive red Targa cable.
On that topic, anyone listening that doesn't know or comes into the shop, we have a bunch of old skis on the ceiling. Just a PSA, none of those skis parts or for sale.
I knew you. That's what.
No, yeah, if it makes it onto the museum wall, sorry, it's we got to look at something different.
We're gonna have to get like cameras down there and like make sure that we're watching people not like reach up and start like unscrewing
a metal
stuff.
detector in the door, making sure people don't bring in screwdrivers. Today, Keel throws down her cables. But no, it's good. I would say, yeah, Targa cable death is there, but there's still a couple of them out there who are stocking up and still rocking Targa. So
I bet if we wrote an article about the death of the G3 Targa, there's so many people that probably have no idea that a binding's not made anymore that they would get super upset.
There is people who still think that binding.
Yeah, we'll see.
Made.
Wonder what the Facebook metrics would be like for that, because during January, the dark days of 75 millimeter news, our Facebook metrics were up like 1,000%.
Oh my God.
So I hope we're not just writing about killing off products, but it was good for Facebook.
That actually would be kind of funny to like Oliver Steffen. I think I remember that. Am I remembering that right? He's the G3 guy. Anyways, it'd be interesting to talk to somebody from G3 and see how many phone calls they get for Targa
I bet
parts.
they still get them, because I was talking with the crew over at Vole, and it's amazing how many phone calls they get for CRB parts.
Yep.
Which, well, I'd like to say we have them, but I don't even think we have them anymore.
I don't think we have a lot of the CRB things.
We're pretty wiped out. But
yeah, that's hard to keep up with. It is interesting. I don't. People really get attached to their binding. That is a huge thing. Kind of makes me wonder. I mean, I guess if you keep servicing a certain type of binding, people never move on from it. So that's kind of interesting.
I'd say too on that with Tay, not how he didn't mount up very, like the Hammerhead was the BD bindings 01, 02, 03. Definitely a lot less of those in and out this season than compared to last year, which was a little different. But
yeah, I think we still see probably more BD stuff just because that was the local company.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Maybe. But I don't know. It's okay. The new stuff's pretty good.
Yeah. I hope people start kind of latching onto that. I just think availability of parts. Things are just going to get so old that at some point you got to move on, you know?
Yeah, and that's like totally different for our realm of, you know, if we were an Alpine shop, we would like not be allowed from like a liability standpoint to mount some of that stuff.
Yeah.
Like they're not mounting like 25-year-old Alpine bindings at, you know, the awesome Alpine shop next door, you know, or whatever.
Yeah, there's no like expiration date on the bindings. Sorry, we can't work on these. These aren't safe anymore. All right, Tay, since you did some tech work, and maybe this is to both of you, what was the weirdest thing that came through the shop this year?
I had a request for, this is a very quick answer, sorry.
Oh my God, I was like, wow.
I had a request to mount a Vole X9, which was a ski they made for a couple years that was like basically a full twin tip backcountry ski, like kind of weird for Vole. I think even their marketing language was like, you know, this isn't the traditional backcountry ski. This is if you got a freestyle flare, and they don't make these skis anymore. It was maybe a miss for them a little bit, but so imagine like a super rocker tip, a little bit of camber underfoot, and almost like an equally rocker tail, like basically twin tip powder ski. He requested to mount them pins on balance point. So I rigged up a little, like a clamp from the ski factory in the back, and mounted a posi driver so I could balance the ski, mark the balance point, lined up the pins, and it was about 15 centimeters or 12 centimeters behind the recommended mount point.
It sounds like a wheelie fest.
It's a little, yeah, there was not a lot of effective edge back there behind his boot. And so I called him just to, if that's your request, like, I was happy to do it, but I was kind of like thinking it would not ski very good just because of the shape of the ski, like pins on the balance point is maybe still a like usable way of mounting a certain type of ski. But the twin tip, like full rocker tail was probably not. I called him and he said, "Oh, well, I kind of just got into telly, and some old telly guy said that that's the way you should mount them." And so I was going to try it, and I think we ended up settling on, I mounted them 2 centimeters back because he wanted a little more of like a quote traditional mount point. But when I was lining up the balance point to mark, line up with his pins on a twin tip like rockered ski, I was like, those
things would have been like clown shoes.
I don't even know. I think he would have had a bad time, so I didn't want to put an extra set of holes in there for a day of like bad skiing. But
I've thought about we should do a video of where we mount skis like that to show a visual of what it looks like, because you can see it in videos where people mount like old school mounts on new skis, and we've talked about that a bunch over the last couple of years on the podcast. But like you can see it where like the front ski is like,
yeah, the tip like pops up, the tail's almost like sinking.
Yeah, it's almost like the front ski and like a powder turn is like vertical.
Yeah,
like they're pushing like this. I'm making like a hand motion.
Yeah, you can't really see Josh, but yeah, basically imagine like your drop knee ski in the snow, and then your front leg just like, at like a 75-degree angle with your tip just pointing to the sky.
Snow plowing.
You know what I'm talking about in videos, though?
Yeah, sure.
How
like
you can see it.
Yeah, and I guess those were different setups, because those videos I think of are like maybe some of the early unparalleled movies and stuff where it was just like, there were maybe more traditional mount points on like narrow skis, so you weren't getting like a lot of float from the width of the ski. But I don't know, that's kind of an interesting thing with just like mount points. If you look at the skis and look at where the side cut is and where the tip and tails start, like, there might be, mounting pins on balance point on a straight, 200 is probably fine, but mounting pins on balance point on like a twin tip ski is a little, it's just like, it's not where the side cut of the ski is or the camber of the ski is. And like, Miles, I think you did a lowdown this year about mount points on, was it Supercharger versus Manti from Volley, which are like dimension wise, if you just look at tip, waist, and tail measurements, like it's pretty similar ski. They're both about 106 underfoot or 105 underfoot, 130 something in the tip. But the mount point on the Manti is like -4 from true center.
Yeah, I think it was like,
versus the Supercharger's like -10 from true center. So even though the length of the ski might be totally different and the dimensions of the ski are, on paper reading tip, waist, tail, like very similar, the shape of where the side cut is on the ski and where the tip and tails are make the recommended mounting point very different. You could have like a 171 and the mount point is, minus 4 or -10, like that's pretty different. But the shape of the ski is different, so it's like it's still where you're supposed to be.
Yeah, I think it's hard to see that I mean, I tried to show kind of where that mount point was, and I can't remember exactly, but I want to say it was like 1.5 inches different.
Yeah, it's for sure like
same size to same size.
Like 6 or 7 centimeters, and that's a big difference. Every once in a while we'll have people come in that want to like mount a new ski in a similar way. It's like, I mean, at least my trick used to be I would grab a boot and then kind of just line up visually before we decided on, let's mount them there. Because in my opinion, if you like put the boot center on the recommended line, most skis just kind of like, it looks right. Maybe that's just from having seen a bunch of different types of skis get mounted and kind of paying attention to what shapes and side cuts and camber profiles look like. But you might bring a ski from 2008 in and you say, I really love the way these are mounted, and you got a pair of skis from 2022 and a full camber like directional ski versus like a ski with a rocker tip or something like that. All of a sudden the mount points might be a little different, and it looks different, but it's still,
skis are also very different.
Yeah, the ski shape's very different, and I don't know, mounting is another hot topic. Like there's a lot of people that, I'm a, one back. I think Bob Mazzare, we discussed, I think our friend Keith Woods in Canada has a little podcast called the Skippy Report, and Bob was on there. We met Bob, and I think you got called out for pronouncing his last name wrong, and
I screw his name up.
I'm sorry, Bob, if you're listening. I'll see you in May, and I'll get it straight from the horse's mouth. But he commented on a Facebook post I saw that he mounted his skis -1 centimeters for gangsta lean.
Gangsta lean.
So some people do have their preferences, and I think, on mount points, like with the protectors, which we haven't really talked about a lot this year, but the wood shop has been in action, and our small ski factory, I mean, it still kind of laughs because I still kind of crack up just because of like how efficiently we're using the space that we have back there. Like, I mean, it is a ski factory, like skis are being built there, and we're doing the processes, but with mount points, like I think there's a sort of like an acceptable range of, a lot of skis even will have like a recommended line and then like +1, +2, or a recommended line and a -1, -2, where it's like if you're kind of somewhere in the zone, like style or just preferences of like how you like to weight a ski, it's like totally acceptable to move it a couple centimeters one way or the other. But when it's like, oh, well, pins on balance point is like -15, like that's a big jump. And I think I was talking with you, Josh, about the mount points of like, if we would have mounted like the protectors, +1, -1 from what line we came up with. I mean, does it ski differently? Probably. My thoughts is, if you didn't tell me they were mounted differently, I probably would just take a couple turns and figure out, oh, this is where I need to like weight the ski. Maybe I had to focus on getting over the tip a little more or being more centered over the ski. Like I think you can kind of make some adjustments too. Like, cause I know that we skied on the 174 pair that we were skiing a couple weeks ago. That was, for our boot size, was mounted +1, basically. Like it was originally drilled for a bigger boot size. So, that moved us forward in our size 27.
I always thought one centimeter each way. It's hard for me to think that you can actually feel the difference.
I don't know.
I mean, when you start getting into like 2 or 3 centimeters, like, okay.
Not to call Nate out, but I will. Nate does, well, back when he used to be on 22 Designs, Nate was digging the midges this year. But when he had the 22 Designs pattern, that 6-hole pattern is proportional. Like, it's like, I think 1.5 inches between each hole. And he would do the regular 6-hole pattern on like the recommended line, and then he would drill an extra 2 holes and insert everything so that he could swap things around. But basically he would have like a rec line, and then it was closer to true center on this particular ski that he did. And he definitely admitted to skiing like a full day with one ski on the rec line and one ski on like basically the true center line.
Oh God.
And he's like, I didn't even notice until I was skiing down the cat track and one of my skis looked longer.
Oh.
So I don't know, maybe that was just like Nate was probably just having a good day skiing POW or something and just wasn't really even thinking about it, but he didn't even notice an 1.5 inch difference.
It's like the
like
day
per ski left and right.
The day I skied a whole day with T2 and my ski was blown up, and then I got home and unloaded the truck and my top shoe was completely off my ski.
Oh my gosh. Sometimes I just think there's obviously a mental aspect to it, and I think mounting is part of that. I mean, you need to feel comfortable. You need to like walk out of your, mounting situation if you're doing it yourself or coming to the shop. Like you got to be like, okay, my gear is squared away. I feel good. I feel confident. I'm going to do stuff. But yeah, I think some of the micro adjustments, like, I don't know. I think some of them are not as big a deal as people make them out to be.
I think with that is like understanding why people do each way. Is maybe some people like to go forward or some people like to go back. Why they like to do that when someone comes in and says, where should I mount my skis? If you talk to them about the advantages or the disadvantages of going forward or going back, or what your goal of the ski is, that definitely helps people too. So
yeah, well, and that's one thing too, is there's not it's kind of like I know when we first got the shop open, in instructions for 22, they always like in their instructions like for I can't remember the verbiage, but it's like for backcountry or for Telemark mount, go -2, and then but it doesn't really take into account the ski, because some ski manufacturers put a recommended line and then put +1, +2, +3 forward.
Mm-hmm.
And then others have it where it's like recommended line, and then you've got it going +1 or 2 forward or +1 and 2 back. And then you've got people that have recommended line with it going back. So there's not like a consistent, like Miles is saying. I mean, you got to really know. I think a lot of customers don't know. So they're going to ask us, which that's why we're here. But I think trusting the manufacturer first and then asking questions about what type of skier you are, terrain, and then making the decision from there. I'm not a fan of just go -2 every time or go.
Yeah, I think it depends on the ski.
Yeah,
totally. I don't know. Some people would play devil's advocate and say, whoa, that recommended line is for an alpine skier. Yeah, probably depending on the ski, I guess. But my theory was always that, like, where I'm standing in a telemark position, like, obviously on my drop knee ski, my weight is way over the tip of the ski, but I'm not, like, way over the tip on my downhill ski. It's like just where my body weight is, mostly like my my glutes are a little more over the tail on the downhill ski. So it's like between tip and weight over the tail. I would just mount it on rec and feel more centered over the ski, I guess. That's when I do the visual in the shop of like standing over it, of it's like, where is my weight? Not that we want to be like backseat riding our tails, but my theory was just weight is sort of split between tip and tail in terms of like, as we're stretching our skis out, one ski in front of us, one ski behind us kind of situation, that somewhere in the middle was the side cut between those. Or, if we think about kind of connecting, I've heard people describe Telemark as like you're kind of connecting two skis into one long effective edge.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, so it's maybe like, I mean, does anyone else agree with me or understand what I'm saying with being like over the tip and the tail of the ski?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want too forward. Like when I'm thinking about it in an actual stance, I don't want to be too forward on my front ski because I don't like too much tail. But I also don't want too much nose or like front of the ski on my uphill ski, because then if I'm mounted too far back, I've got too much play in the front of the ski, too much tip. I don't know if we're saying the same thing, but I think we're along the same.
Basically, we mount 97% of the skis on rec, whether that's from a Telemark ski like a Freeheel Life Protector or a Bishop Chetty or something like that, or a Alpine ski, like name a brand. We probably mounted it, and we probably mounted it on rec. And if sometimes like no news is good news, and we just mount them up and show people how their bindings work, and we don't see them for a year until they get something new or whatever. But I think the majority of people that I've like followed up with in years past have like, they come back in the shop I think I want to try the brakes, I'll add those on, or just came in for a wax or whatever, and how's the new setup? Oh, it's great. It's or people don't even know. People like sort of trust our opinion a lot, where you go through the whole thing of like, okay, where are we mounting them? And they're like, well, I don't know, on the top. Like
well, for as easy as we made it sound, we just talked about a lot of funky details.
Yeah.
It's good though. It's good. Well, I feel like we kind of covered Miles running the shop. Obviously, you took on a new role, Tay, general manager of the Freeheel Life. How'd it go? How are you feeling about the business and the future? Are we gonna?
Very excited about the future. I'm proud of the crew this year. I think everybody, stepped up, and whether they were in a new role or a new job, even, we had a couple new employees this year. It was cool to see sort of like some of the processes that Josh, you left me with, where it's, this is how we train someone. This is how we operate here. And, that was kind of cool to see. It was sort of an interesting winter from like a supply chain standpoint, where we had some delays in products, which kind of like threw off the plan a little bit, as far as like when we're receiving inventory, when we're doing sales or anything like that. And, that made it a little bit of a challenge with just like delays in getting product. As shop manager, Miles is dealing mostly with retail and, receiving orders and getting product to customers and stuff. But, that does trickle up to things that are on my plate. And then, it was a good year. Like, we don't have a ton of gear sitting around. Like, if you want a really good deal on a 176 Bishop Powderhound, that's like the only thing we have like a couple extras of.
And a size 30 TX Pro.
Yeah, I think we got a pair or two of those left. But pretty much everything else, Miles and the crew was able to move. It was sort of like, with Josh, you kind of transitioning to putting all those responsibilities on my plate, from Telemark skier stuff to manufacturing stuff to, sales and marketing and all this other things that goes into, I basically sat at the desk most of the winter. The retail stuff, I felt like I had a pretty good grasp on. That's what I had managed the last, however many seasons of retail shop was sort of my baby. And it was, Miles made it easy to sort of, I just passed that along to him. And certainly there were questions here and there, but I was never like super stressed out about the retail store, just because I knew Miles and the crew could handle it downstairs. But the manufacturing, that's kind of a exciting thing for us, where, really I would probably say we started Freeheel Life manufacturing about a year ago.
Yeah,
as
right
far
about
as like,
yeah.
We've made like little things here and there, but we started building skis last year, and that you kind of spearheaded like the manufacturing of it. I maybe spearheaded the idea of
I was gonna say that wasn't
you
my
into making
idea.
skis, but as kind of, that was like one of the things that I was not super familiar with. So like, you were still around for a lot of advice and stuff, and it's been interesting in the last couple weeks now of, okay, we're doing skis again, whether we like it or not, I think the Protectors last year, it sort of ended up being like kind of a soft launch. We did the pre-order. We got the skis for pre-order customers, and that was kind of it. We had a few demo skis and stuff. The hope was that we had skis available where you could just walk in the shop in October and grab a pair of skis off the wall and whatever. That didn't exactly happen, and we kind of went a little silent about the Protectors just because, honestly, we had other stuff on the shelves, and other stuff is good. I would argue that the Protectors are better, but they were hard to get. So
it is kind of funny that you and I have talked about this. It is kind of funny that it's been so underground, in the sense that like there's like close to 40 people that have those skis, which is like a good number for at least.
Yeah, I'm super proud of us. When I was making sales calls last year, and it was like I was very confident in our ability to make one. I was like, I hadn't seen our ability to make multiple, you know, or make 40 or make, 100 or whatever number we're trying to make. I hadn't seen that process repeated. And so it was like, that's super exciting for me. Of all of a sudden, I'm dealing with suppliers trying to get, epoxy and fiberglass and ABS sidewall and tip spacer and top sheets and all this stuff, and putting all the pieces together has been sort of a new challenge of, okay, I'm trying to ask myself these questions of like, how does the process go? I want to do the process. I don't necessarily want to be the best ski builder, but I want to know how that process works so that, I can be a manager of someone that's building skis, or, just know what's going on. Like for me, I think that's kind of important where, I don't want to be the best ski tech. I want to be able to train the best ski tech. I don't want to be the best ski builder, but I want to be able to train the best ski builder and help hold a standard and accomplish stuff like that. And so, jumping into the next batch of Protectors, like, I'm very proud of the product we made. I'm very glad that the vast majority of the feedback we got on those skis was good, because everyone that bought them last year, I mean, you didn't get to demo them. You didn't even get to see them most of the time. A couple local people might have seen a couple.
We had like a mock-up of the graphic.
Yeah, I mean,
here's the ski you're buying.
Yeah, it's like a couple of the local customers maybe got to like touch and feel one of the prototype pairs we built last year, so they sort of had an idea, but for the most part, they went kind of blind or went on faith that we would either, we weren't lying to them about what the ski did, but it was also like, they trusted our opinion on that stuff, which was cool, but it was like really nerve-wracking when we finally had them out of the press and, all cut out and finished tuned and everything, and I'm in there drilling them, and it was like, okay, like, here they go. They're going out to the snow. Like, I really hope they like them, because, like, you paid good money for that ski, and I think, the ski warrants that. There's good materials in it. There's a lot of labor that goes into it, but ultimately it's like, it matters if the ski's good. And so that was like really, really cool when, the vast majority of the feedback was good, and, people were pretty happy about them. And I think, some of the quotes were, this is pretty much as good of an all mountain ski as I can think of. Definitely prefers the soft snow a little bit. That was kind of one of the negative comments of, they weren't like that great on ice. Like, I don't, but we were talking about this of like, what type of ski is the Protector? And it's, it can't, I mean, honestly, it probably can't be a do it all perfectly ski. I don't think there is a ski like that. I think there's skis that do most things really well. And those are definitely kind of carver skis of like, the shape is, there's a little bit of tip and tail rise, but it's like, it's a pretty directional ski that likes to be on edge. But it's been cool to see and hear from the people that bought those last year that, all of a sudden it's pretty much like their daily driver, like, I mean, my dad is the closest Protector customer that I know. Obviously that's like a little bit maybe biased or just like he's my dad. Like I see him skiing a lot and talk to him a lot. And I think he's skied 2 days on the old Freeheel Life 801, like his powder skis.
Oh yeah.
But other than that, he hasn't skied anything but the Protector 95, which was like super sweet to like hear that, where it's, you know, it took him a couple days to start to figure it out. And, you know, I was like, how are they doing? He's like, oh, I'm figuring them out. And then, you know, now towards the spring, it's like, he's like, yeah, these are great. They do what I want. And, I was skiing with him this past week, and all of a sudden it was like, you know, he was talking about, he's got pros and comp, you know, TX pros and TX comp boots. He's got both. And the comp boots is like when he's feeling like good and like wants to ski a little more aggressive, and the pros kind of more of his preferred boot, I would say, just because, I don't know, he's a good skier, but he doesn't like ski as fast as maybe he used to. But he's like, he let the Protectors run, and, you know, I'm standing there at the top of the run, and I get down, I'm like, wow, like, man, you were flying. Like, I haven't seen you ski that fast. He's like, well, I'm confident on them. You know, they're stable and, and they grip up good. And I was like, that's cool to see that. But yeah, the actual like building of that product, you know, that's sort of a new, I mean, it's a new endeavor for Freeheel Life, but it's a new endeavor for me to sort of organize that whole project. And, you know, Josh has still been helping with a lot of that stuff as we kind of transition fully into like letting me run everything here. But, you know, that's super exciting. And like, yeah, it was a good winter. It was kind of the next level for me of, you know, dealing with a lot of moving parts. When I was just the shop manager, yeah, certainly there's a lot of things going on in the retail store between, you know, trying to schedule employees and get product here and make sure, you know, customers are coming in the door. But, you know, for me, there was make sure that was happening on Miles' plate. And then, you know, all these other things from, you know, the finances with my brother, who's our accountant, financial manager. What is his title exactly?
Yeah, he's finance manager.
Sure. You know, everything from finances to, you know, employment to, you know, the retail store to manufacturing to media to marketing. It was like, you know, there was a lot going on, and some things new on my plate. And I don't know, I think I'm proud of us that we made it to April, and, you know, it was a winner. I'm not exactly satisfied with like everything that went on. Like, I think there's still lots of room for improvement. I think that attitude is okay though. Like, I don't know what I would do if I got to the end of the winter, and like, I think there's always room for improvement. So I don't really know what that attitude would be like of if I got to the end of the winter and it was just like, yeah, it was good, let's just do the exact same thing next year. Yep. Maybe that will be the case someday, but, you know,
one day
there's more stuff we want to do, and there's more things we want to handle, and we want to do more media and build more skis and help more customers get into a, you know, good telemark setup or just get good advice. And I mean, I'm proud of the team, and, you know, proud enough of myself, but I'm still not really satisfied. I'm still hungry.
Well, that's good. Yeah. I like that. Well, I appreciate you guys. You guys did a good job handling stuff, and yeah, it's fun. I mean, I've been here, you know, last month or so, kind of helping out, wrap things up, but good job, Miles. Good job, Taylor. Good job, team. Everybody that worked here. Yeah. You guys killed it this year, and I'm sure we'll get some more of the newbies on here. I think there's a couple ski initiations we need to line up, hopefully before the snow's gone, with a couple of them. And but yeah, overall, thank you for everyone who helped us on year number 7. We survived, and we are still here, and we still got lots to do, like Taylor said. So
we got lots to do, but we're excited, and I don't know, Telly's hot. That's what I'm feeling. It's on the upswing.
Sizzling.
It's, I don't know, just the stoke and participation seems like we're definitely on the upswing. So, If someone tells you Telly's dead, they're wrong. Just tell them to go, pound sand. They're just wrong.
Yep.
I would also say we're on spring break this week. So if you made it this far in the show and you try to call us to ask for anything, sorry, we're taking a vacation.
Break,
we'll come back next week.
Yeah, we're giving the crew some time off, freshen the brains up before we start the summer push. So,
Yep.
I think I'm going to help out with some shipping next week while you guys are gone.
Shipping guy.
I'm going to be the shipping guy.
Someone's got to do it.
Someone's got
The
to do it.
operation does not operate without the shipping guy.
I know,
it's
that's
a crucial position.
That is kind of the most important one. Okay, cool. Thanks everybody out there for a great season, and thanks for coming on the podcast, you guys.
Yeah,
Thanks for having us. As always, follow Telite on Instagram and keep an eye out for more Protector ski news, because I'm sure at some point we should do an episode talking deep dive about what those are and why we're building those.
We'll get Nate back on.
Perfect.
He was sad that I wasn't inviting him this morning, so we'll get him back on. And then at Miles Shaffer.
Miles Shaffer on Instagram.
Check him out. Lowdown.
New merch soon for all those who are impatiently waiting.
Sorry, we kind of dropped the ball on some cool hats and t-shirts and stuff this season, but
It's all right. Summer drop,
so you can make sure everyone knows you Telly when it's not winter.
Love it. All right, guys. See you later.
Yep. Bye.
Always great to catch up with the boys and hear what happened this season. Excited to get a little spring skiing in, and we've got our smelly knee pad coming up, and yeah, it's always a fun time of year to kind of reflect on how things went, and crazy to think how fast time flies by. Every year we say that, and we get to this time of year, and it's just absolutely incredible. All the great people we've met, events we've been able to participate in, and just seeing Telemark grow every year. It's awesome. So thanks for listening to the show today. Like I said, reminder that the staff will be on their spring break this week and not available. So if we're not answering calls or emails, I'm actually going to be coming in helping with some of the shipping. I'll keep that rolling. So no fears. If you are a podcast listener and you're listening, hopefully you get the news, and we'll see you back next week. We'll be back in working on all sorts of stuff this summer and spring. So how you can support us as always, and how you have supported us all season long, is shopping at freeheellife.com. We've still got some demo items there, remaining merchandise and whatnot. So check that out, freeheellife.com. Also, there's going to be some new merchandise coming out here in the coming weeks, so keep an eye on that. We're also starting our production on our next run of Protector 95 and 105 skis that we kind of mentioned in the podcast, sort of underground last year. We're going to be making some more of those, and would love to get you on a fresh pair of Freeheel Life Protector 95s or 105s. You can always support us over at telemarkskier.com, news, articles, gear reviews, and more. And I would, of course, love to hear from you. So even though the brick and mortar's closed, I am going to be doing the podcast for the foreseeable future on every Monday for the rest of my existence on this planet. And I couldn't be more excited about that. I've, like I always say, I've got a great lineup of guests that are kind of peppered in here over time, and I think spring and summer is always good because I tend to have a little more time to book people, and schedules aren't conflicting and whatnot. So I can't wait to get some of those out. So yeah, make sure to subscribe to the podcast anywhere you can listen to them. If you're an Apple podcast listener, maybe take a second to rate and review the podcast. Hopefully you're digging it. The subject matter, the people, the culture, all the fun stuff. And so grateful for everyone that supported Freeheel Life and all of the Freeheel Life family of stuff over forever. Before it even existed, some of you were supporting something that got us to the point where that could begin. So with much gratitude and humility for letting us have such a fun business to run and getting to know all of you. Until next week, spread Telemark always, my friends. See you later.